Welcome back to Up Front. We've spent a lot of time here discussing Governor Walker's expected bid for president. Today, we're taking a look at the Democratic race for 2016. Former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton became the instant frontrunner, but Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders joined the race last week. We're sizing up this field with Katrina vanden Heuvel, editor and publisher of The Nation, a Washington Post columnist, and frequent guest on ABC's This Week. It's good to have you on the program.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you for having me.
Well, let's talk about Senator Sanders' decision to get into this race. What does it mean for the Democrats in 2016?
I think it's a very important development because at The Nation, we've been talking for a while about the importance of ideas in our election, the importance of debate, the importance of not having inevitability define this election. So with Bernie Sanders coming in, you have a candidate with very strong populist ideas who I believe will move Hillary Clinton. And it's good for the country, it's good for the Democratic Party, it's good for citizens so they're not just spectators in a sport but actually engaged. And it's probably good for Hillary Clinton because a lot of Americans don't like inevitability. So now she's already welcomed the senator, Bernie Sanders, with a tweet, welcome. There will be debates. And you've already seen her move. I mean, on the 15 minimum wage, she's beginning to talk about it. Our good correspondent John Nichols has been using Bernie Sanders' entrance into the race to say, hey, come on, Senator Clinton, you've got to speak up on the trade agreement, speak up on issues that are vital to the American people. So I think it's healthy.
Do you see him as someone who has a realistic chance, or do you see him, as you suggest, someone who can sort of make sure that Hillary Clinton addresses some of these big issues, trade, income inequality, things like that?
You know, Mike, I say never when it comes to politics. We've seen insurgent candidacies upset the apple cart, so to speak. But certainly his entrance will push her, will move her to address issues that might not otherwise be addressed. And I think that's vital at a time in this country. I think we face existential problems in this country. We need elections and campaigns that are commensurate with the challenges we face. So Bernie Sanders, and there may be one or two others, three others if we're fortunate.
More the merrier from your standpoint?
In my view, absolutely, because then you have robust debates. And I think, you know, elections are still a time, particularly presidential elections, when people pay attention to politics. And I think you can, so it's also a time when there are, you know, movements in this country. There are issues that are being driven by movements. Fast food workers, the environmental movement, the, you know, the trade fight. All of these issues could be brought into the campaign in important ways if you have candidates who are speaking to them. So I think it's much more vital.
The word inevitability is often used when people talk about Hillary Clinton in 2016. But is she getting dinged by these stories, whether it's missing email stories, whether it's about cash contributions to the Clinton Foundation while she was Secretary of State? Is that causing damage in the long run?
It was interesting how her entrance into the campaign was marked. I think Bernie Sanders and others coming in help because, with all due respect to our profession, you do have a lot of journalists who are already bored, right? I mean, you're going to have this long campaign.
Right.
So there's a kind of hostility and a baggage brought to covering Hillary Clinton, which, you know, they're legitimate issues. But I think if you can get a media to focus on the issues. Now, I think all power to the investigations around, for example, the Clinton Foundation. I mean, we don't know if anything illegal occurred there, but there are judgment questions. And these are issues that journalists should cover. But journalists should look at the issues and not trivialize elections, not make it personality-driven, not horse race-driven. I think people deserve that. And Bernie Sanders has the ability, he's been talking about the crisis of our democracy, money in our politics, how people are being, middle-class people, low-income people are being shafted by rigged rules. It'll push Senator Clinton to speak more forcefully. And I think then people will understand, hey, maybe this election has a lot to do with my life. There might be the possibility the conditions of my life will improve, which I think is, at the end of the day, what politics at its best is about.
Very briefly, would you like to see Senator Warren get in this race? And do you have any reason to believe that that door is even slightly open?
I admire Senator Warren. I think she speaks more forcefully in the most human, accessible, powerful ways toward an America that should be. I think she has she's the virtual candidate. She has enormous clout in where she sits and stands already. Don't know if she will run, But I think at some point it's probably important that she decide one way or another to give more oxygen and space to someone like Senator Sanders, who is very much allied with her on issues.
Final question. Your publication obviously is not a big fan of Governor Walker's. Do you think he would be a formidable candidate, though, should he be the nominee for Republicans in 2016?
You know, I think what's going on with the Republican Party, Mike, is it's, you know, a billionaire, every billionaire wants a vote right now in deciding who will be president. And I think Scott Walker, you see what he's done in the state. My colleague John Nichols has covered Wisconsin for The Nation. I don't think Scott Walker's extremism, nor his failed economic policies in the state, will really travel well nationally, which is probably why he doesn't want to spend too much time in the state talking to the good state media.
Katrina vanden Heuvel is the editor and publisher of The Nation.
Thank
It's good
you.
to have you on the program. We appreciate it.
Very glad to be with you. Thank you.
You bet. Coming up next, the latest on the new sports arena in Milwaukee. Is a deal to pay for it close at hand? And for political news throughout the week, be sure to follow me at Mike Goucher on Twitter.